This week's episode of Still Entitled is made possible with support from M&M's new hazelnut spread chocolate candies. Spreadsheets and emails got you bogged down? Grab yourself a treat with the new M&M's hazelnut spread chocolate candies, guaranteed to deliver a delicious combo of hazelnut spread and milk chocolate in every bite-sized piece. They're a perfect way to bring some fun into your day. M&M's new hazelnut spread chocolate candies are an instant classic, unlocking a side of indulgence that's all its own. You've heard me say it before. I used to get through college eating hazelnut spread directly from the jar, and I love having them in this new bite-sized portion for snacking on or putting in baked goods. Go hazelnutty and try the new M&M's hazelnut spread chocolate candies today. And now on with the show.
Hey, let's start the show.
Welcome to Still Entitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will. I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
I'm very uncomfortable.
I know.
Things are different.
Things are very different, especially if you're watching the video right now.
Hi, everybody.
We're recording from the tested office this week.
We are recording from the tested offices. The fact was that it was logistically just a little boring this afternoon for us to tromp over and set up in my shop. And Mel and Jen are over there furiously working and doing some research. And so it was pointed out that everything's set up here. So we thought, let's just do it here.
Also,
we've never done it here
air
before.
conditioning.
Oh, that's true. It's hot as balls outside.
Again. Look, I did the genius thing last night. As I was going to bed, I looked at the weather tomorrow. I saw it was going to be 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And I set up fans in a couple windows and set them to blow out.
Nice.
And then opened up every window in the house.
Yep.
When we woke up this morning, it was freezing. And then I shut all the windows.
Brilliant.
It's great. It's like having air conditioning, but, free.
We bought one of those little portable units, and it has been a great boon to our lives in our bedroom.
It's important.
The trick is to buy one before it gets hot.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
but no, I know Ryan had to like drag it from someone else at Best Buy. That was the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
I bought a window unit last year thinking I was going to put it in if it ever got hot again, and then it turns out I don't have a window that I can put a window unit in.
We're going to put it in our house. San Francisco's getting warmer, and in 50 years, San Francisco will have the weather of LA. Is the latest forecast I saw. And if that's the case, AC is going to be completely vital.
Yeah. Well, you have a central furnace, right?
We do. Yeah. I don't actually in my house. There's only one floor that needs AC.
The
main floor stays cool all day long, but the floor where we have our bedroom, top floor, it gets stupid hot. And that has a crawl space, so it's easy for us to add in. Because what we have is we have central heating on the mid floor and the base and the ground floor through registers. Yeah, but we don't have them on the top floor.
Putting it on the top
it's
because you didn't need it.
There's no. It's a .comer actually put steam heat in.
Wow.
In like 2005.
Wow.
Like a first .com boom, rich guy.
And now you can double the functionality of your Nest thermostat. Right? That was the thing. Like you can actually activate the AC side of it as opposed to just heating.
Well, the Nest doesn't understand houses without air conditioning.
Yeah.
Really?
It seems like it gets confused.
It's not great for people in the Bay Area.
No.
AC.
No.
Yeah. Well, we're not a house upgrade show.
Yeah. Welcome to the Home Improvement Hour.
I want to talk about YouTube this morning.
Oh, everybody's favorite channel.
I have found a new YouTube channel that I'm really enjoying.
Is it called Tested?
It's not.
Okay. I was going to say, this is the most awkward
way to
plug
stay
I've
on
ever
brand.
heard. Yeah.
Back in the early 90s, when I first moved out to San Francisco, my roommate and I at the time got very into chess.
Okay.
And we played a lot of chess. And I collected a bunch of chess sets, and I read some books on chess. And the long and the short of it is, I played enough chess to realize I was never going to be great at chess.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens to everybody who gets into chess at some point.
And yet, I have great respect for the game. I really enjoy playing it. One of the key moments in raising my sons was when Thing 2 checkmated me.
When did you teach them how to play?
Probably they knew by the time they were 10 or 11.
Do you like chess for the same reason that you like pool? Because the learning curve is not... It definitely spikes up toward the end, but it has a nice hump. Where it's not like easy to learn.
Yeah.
But it does take, you can get to like really competent and really good, and that takes effort, but then there's like a huge ramp after that.
Right. I mean, there are basic strategies that are available to the novice that can be effective. Yeah, that might be the case.
Because it's not like one of those like Go, right? Go is, the learning curve can go
is
straight
infinite.
up, it's super easy to learn because the rules are basic. chess, there's like it feels like there are natural bumps in terms of how good you can get.
I mean, it's like any other game, right? You start with learning the basic rules, right? And then you start to learn the intro to strategy, how you use the pieces in actual game. And then you start learning the strategy, and then you start getting into the meta of learning the strategy, and that changes.
At any rate, this is all about talking about a website called The Chess Website, and it's a YouTube channel called The Chess Website. And what it is a walkthrough. You're basically watching a screen of chess software play through famous games.
Oh, wow.
And this website is like Bobby Fischer playing this game or that game, and Spassky playing this game.
And are they
that
talking
game.
about why they made the moves that they made?
Not only talking about why they make the moves that they make, but while it would seem to you natural for so-and-so to take the queen, to take the bishop in this case, only 5 moves of prognostication show that that's the wrong move, and here's how this will go. And then they'll rewind and say, and this is the other thing that he could have done, but this is also why he didn't do that. Wow. And then this is why this is considered the best move that anyone's ever made in chess.
It's fascinating because like I played chess every weekend with my grandmother as a kid growing up. Like we played Sunday mornings until we both got tired of playing. And I never got to a point that I was able to see more than like a move or two ahead. You kind of get a hint of what you're going to do next, but you never can really predict your opponent. And playing German games, Norm and I have played a lot of, starting with Catan like everybody does and going through all the other stuff. You eventually get to the point with the games that you play enough that you can see that stuff. And it's fascinating when it happens because it's a real weird brain feel.
So the thing that hooked me on this YouTube channel, the chess website, is this Bobby Fischer game called that Bobby Fischer played when he was, I think, 13. And he, I'm sorry if I get this wrong because I watched a whole bunch of them. But I think this is the specific game I was watching in which he sacrifices his queen without a return on his investment.
Because he sees the return 5.
Because what he sees is the opponent's queen is in such an inconvenient position that they will never have time to mobilize it before Fischer wins. But it's like so far in advance that the queen sacrifice looks to you like the worst move ever, and it's the best. It's an unbelievable move, what he's able to do by doing it. And each of these deep dives is really, really thrilling. And having someone who is a high-level chess player walk you through these choices and stratagems and alternate ways that it could have been done and ways in which it's considered within the chess is really enjoyable. And they're not too long. None of these games are hugely like extensive games either. So it's a nice bulleted sort of an intellectual deep dive into something that's only 15 minutes long. So it's kind of a great like.
What's the best play-by-play?
Right.
Yeah.
Just come home and kind of sit there and watch it. I had the volume on in bed the other night. And my wife is walking in and she's like, "Are you listening to stock quotes?" Because of the dry delivery of the guy who narrates the games. It doesn't sound like it's a thrilling video.
Are
but
you
it was
pausing
really fun.
after every to like process?
Sometimes I'm pausing.
I love doing that too.
Sometimes
right?
I'm pausing to look at pictures of who the players are also and doing other research about this game of the century, that game of the century.
Well, it's funny because this is the place that like watching sports fails. Like the sports commentators, it's funny because the folks that make a video game called Dota do this big international tournament every few years, and they run multiple commentary streams. They run one for people who don't understand the game at all,
nice.
and then they run others for people who like have played the game and understand basic strategy and stuff like that. And it's like that's the kind of thing that I think you miss on physical sports a lot of times. Like baseball commentators shoot for the median, right? Like they don't explain the strategy of pulling the pitcher at this point.
No, and there have been some Deadspin articles about baseball moves where I'm like, I still don't understand why that's important. So then I'll go research that move and have to do all this research to fill in the story on Deadspin because I want more. It's one of the, actually, I mean, in general on the internet, foundational perspective is often missing from stories that people are being paid $8 an hour to file 50 a day of.
YouTube is where the hobbyists really latch onto that. And it happens in sports, basketball especially, because all the footage is digital now. So they can find the footage. People are uploading entire games, easy for you to rip. And there's some great literal play-by-play commentary where they're taking 15 seconds of a 48-minute game, and you watch a 10-minute video about the decisions of all 10 players on the court with the graphic overlays, rewinding back.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
If you can point me to that, I'd love to look at that. Because I never watch sports except for golf for some reason. I love watching golf. But in
That's the one with the round ball, right?
in Michael Jordan's last real season with the Bulls, they were playing Utah Jazz. Was that it?
I mean, they would have played
96
the
finals?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, and so it was one of these famous games in which Jordan sinks the three-pointer by he does a fake, and the guy who's guarding him moves, and Jordan reaches out and just touches the guy's shoulder, and the guy just falls over.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's put him off balance, and then he just stands up and sinks this three.
Yeah.
And like I watched that game. So first of all, I was like, I should watch the last 3 games of Michael Jordan's career for hell's sake, right?
He's yeah.
You know,
He's
and I enjoyed the spit out of them. It was really, really, really great. My ex-wife was wandering around the house going, I didn't marry a man who watches sports on TV. What's happened? What have you done with my husband? And then I found online about a year later, or maybe it was even a New Yorker article, a deep dive into that game and that move of Jordan. And they talked about it within the arc of Jordan's body changing through the course of his career and him adjusting his style of play and strategy, knowing deeply what his body could and couldn't do, and how the mental aspect of the strategy was all exemplified by all I have to do is fake this little bit, and this guy doesn't realize how far off balance he will be. I'll tip him over and do this shot. And it was lovely to read that kind of stuff.
It's the thing that I think makes competitive video games and like pick up basketball games and all of the kind of sports, bowling, joining a bowling league. It's the thing that we have as kids, and a lot of times we lose as adults, that I think is actually really like having competition in your life that is healthy and not destructive. It turns out is really good.
Agreed. My wife and I have been playing a game often called Russian Rummy. It was introduced to us as a game called Sets and Runs.
Okay.
And it's a brutal 7-handed card game.
With 7 people or
No. Seven rounds.
Okay.
And it's just a kind of a rummy-based game. You've got to
Okay.
get sets and runs under different circumstances for each of 7 rounds. And it's brutal. Like the swings in the game can be humongous.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. And we've been playing it for months now, very regularly. And it's been really enjoyable. We have some friends who live nearby. They come over all the time.
that's
and
awesome.
It's like a 3-hour, to play all 7 hands.
Yeah.
Takes about 2 or 3 hours.
It-
And it's a meaty, fun evening.
It makes me think about, like, there's so much interesting stuff happening in board games right now. A few years ago, Matt Leacock, I think, made the Pandemic, they started out making a Risk Legacy game, which is a game of Risk that's designed to be played 12 times, and the board changes as you play.
Oh, so you only play it 12 times and you have to buy a new set because
you wanna keep
physically
playing.
things
Because that's like
change.
the real Risk where you only play it once before someone hurls the
Yes.
board
Yeah.
across the room into the wall.
This is a better game in a lot of ways, but
There's persistence.
Irkutsk. That's what I want. I want Irkutsk at it.
for example, in the third game, if somebody nukes Australia, then you put a big sticker over Australia that says people don't go here anymore.
Wow.
Right? Like it's those kinds of
dark.
interactions are lovely, and getting to play, like, it's fun to dig into a game long enough to get to the meat of it.
Well, like every game, it's about the shared experience and the story you've built together. And
Yeah.
the fact that you can have then an artifact at the end of 12 games, whatever it is, that is a tangible, physical, marked up, thing of that journey, and then someone gets to keep it.
Did you ever finish one of those
Never
campaigns?
finished it.
Yeah, neither have
we
I.
did 5.
Have you guys ever played Set?
No.
Do you know
No.
about this game?
No.
Okay, Set is a series of cards. You lay down, I think it's 9 or 12 cards, and they're different shapes that are different colors. And you can either have them be all the same shape, or all the same color, or all different shapes, or all different colors. And it's one of these brain benders because you're thinking at 2 ends of a spectrum of matching.
Oh, okay.
And it's
It's like flushes and straights, but
we were
yeah.
and we were having a lot of fun playing it with my boys, and Julie and I played it a ton, and then we played it with my niece, who turns out to be, I mean, she's brilliant, but she's like a savant at Set, and it's like she's so good at it, I don't want to play anymore. Not because she's going to beat me every time, because my brain literally cannot do what she can do. She walks by the table, we're all sitting there like staring at these cards, and she's like, Set.
Well, that's what happens with the German kind of board games. I mean, Gina and I have played some of those. Sometimes you play for 10 games and somebody figures out a core strategy that the other person hasn't sussed out yet, and then or you figure out how to break the game, and then
Right.
it just becomes a race to see who breaks the game. That's not very much fun.
Yeah.
But when you find something that actually the depth keeps going, the more you play,
Which means every time you play, by the time you finish, you want to start again immediately.
Yeah.
To exercise that new
You
strategy.
want to try this, and strategies and sets and runs I'm finding some very subtle ones, some really interesting ones.
we've played hundreds of games of Seven Wonders and Splendor and games like that, and it's still exceptional every time.
So, yes, I'm stumping today for the chess website's YouTube channel, deep dives into chess games. It is really, really fun. I wanted to talk about a TV show.
Yes.
The television, something on the television.
Two television shows.
Whoa.
One
Sorry.
we're going to go into spoilers for.
Okay, but
Maybe.
Actually, the
what's-
first one I want to talk about is a Showtime show I've been watching on Amazon called Couples Therapy.
Okay.
Okay.
You heard about this?
No.
Okay. Have either of you? Maybe this
I've
is too personal
I've
question.
never been to
You've
couples
never been to couples therapy?
My relationship's perfect, Adam. Don't ask me any questions.
Communication is key.
I just want to comment here for the whole world that couples therapy is awesome.
Why do you think I podcast?
Yeah, this is the whole point. Well, Gene and I did a podcast for a while.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yeah.
How did that go?
It's not a great idea.
I like it when Marty Nussbaum on work on NPR has his wife join him on that.
We had a really good time. It became challenging when our daughter was born.
Oh, sure.
For time
sure.
reasons.
So, at any rate, sorry, there's this show called Couples Therapy, and it is a reality show. I think there's 8 episodes following 4 or 5 couples as they go through therapy. You see a little bit of each of them each episode.
Okay.
It's the same therapist throughout.
But these are real people?
These are real
this seems
people.
like
Right.
more human
So-
toll than The Bachelor.
Well, so your question would be, and it's a right question to ask, what kind of nut job wants to reveal their marriage ills in front of a camera? And the answer turns out to be some really smart, lovely people.
Okay.
And some of the relationship stuff they deal with is super intense.
Is this produced by the BBC or somebody decent? Or
Good
is this...
question. I'm not sure. It is very decently and wonderfully done.
Okay.
It shows the process of therapy in a really wonderful light. It shows how creative the discipline can be because you not only see the sessions, you actually also see the therapist talking to her consultant, her supervisor, and workshopping what she's going to say.
This is what your mom does, too.
This is what my
right?
mom does,
Yeah.
and this is what my wife does. And my wife has been just thrilled by this show, and it's really like I've now watched I've watched 4 of the episodes, and we're gonna watch some more tonight. Like it's
I mean, we have a lot of stigma in the U.S. for any kind of psychiatric care or any kind of therapy, and it's good to show that stuff in a way that doesn't paint it as, hey, you've made a mistake with your relationship, you need to go get help.
well, and this is like everyone who does do couples therapy often uses the same terminology, which is it's just maintenance. They say it's just maintenance, which is fine. It is just maintenance. And you might go like a lot of people show up in couples therapy in a state of triage, right?
Yeah.
There's some difficulty that feels insurmountable. They want a referee. Sometimes one member of the couple just wants wants someone to agree with them that the other member of the couple's a jerk. That happens too.
But it's also permission. Permission to...
But and look, when we're in relationships, we're all in long-term relationships. You build these dynamics in those relationships, and even being able to see a dynamic and name it doesn't necessarily help you surmount or surpass it. And going into a room in which somebody is there to provide a new way of looking at things, a safer way to talk about things, ways in which both members of that couple will feel safe. Really important and wonderful introspection can happen in that room, in my experience, and this show shows that really well.
I wonder if they if they were selective in what they showed.
Oh,
versus-
absolutely. I mean, so look, one of these couples, I was watching it and I was like, he's crazy. And my wife points out, yeah, we're only seeing a little bit of each episode. Yeah. One of the things that typifies almost all the couples on this show is a deep feeling of love between the two people. And that you don't see anybody being cruel to each other in session. You see very little being dismissive or none of that. You see people having genuine activation at real life difficulties and feeling like they're not seen or heard or dealing with past trauma that is coloring their current relationship. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of unpacking of that. mostly it's a show about helping people communicate better.
And they have a good foundation.
Yeah.
They chose the right people.
You get when I talk about it, just for people who might not think about this like this, but when I say a dynamic in a relationship, I mean, you and I might have had a fight 8 years ago about a thing, and both of us took something from that fight that stuck with us, and it colors the way in which we talk around that issue forever after. And it becomes difficult to even approach the issue because there's so much of this feedback loop happening.
Well, and sometimes that happens and only one person notices.
This is also true.
Yeah,
becomes very difficult to get the other person to see the perspective of the other person. Again, therapy is a great place to unpack those dynamics and see about them safely and get to a new place. So, couples therapy, wonderful show, and a great description of what a creative and amazing discipline being a therapist can be.
I saw a tweet this morning that's very relevant.
Yeah.
And I went to find it, so I would credit the person correctly because I usually don't do that. Anna Broges is her account on Twitter, said, "It's been 3 days since my therapist was like, 'You're so very open about vulnerable topics, but is that the same as actually being vulnerable?' And damn, guys, damn." So it's funny because that's the thing is
I just lost you in my feed here.
it's been popping in and out for me too.
Oh, is it?
The headphones are
There we go.
adapters are janky.
Good. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things I've realized as I've gotten older is that when you're young, you don't realize the wake that you leave often. Mm-hmm. As you get older, you become aware of it, but don't really maybe know how to change it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that we do now are, talking about things that are challenging or that are delicate topics in a very open and forthcoming way. But that is not the same as actually being vulnerable to another human being.
No.
And it's important to be vulnerable to other human beings.
It's not only important, it's vital.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's really, really hard. It's actually one of the most difficult things for me in my life is to be genuinely, truly vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, well, look, there's thousands of years of Western civilization conditioning us to never show emotions. And it turns out that's really fucking bad for you.
So, couples therapy, watch it, love it. It's a really, really wonderful thing out there.
Is it a substitute for actual couples therapy, though?
No.
Okay.
I will tell you, it definitely has a positive effect for me, to watch it. And I like watching people working to solve their own problems in a loving and supportive way.
Well,
that's thrilling.
It's nice to know
and
that
inspiring.
Your experience as a human is not unique.
Yes, that's the other thing is
Yeah.
that you hear these people talk about this stuff, and one of the other things that typifies the couples that come is they came to play. And from my wife, I understand that some people show up and they're just not ready to talk. And the therapist has to spend all this time kind of getting them to feel safe enough to really talk. Some of these people, at one point in couples therapy, one of the husband of one couple says something that I just find unforgivably weird and terrible. But I'm so amazed that he just brought it. If that's what he thinks,
Yeah.
then it's fantastic that he brought it into the room.
Does the therapist ever say, well, you guys are right to be in therapy. You should maybe consider this one a wash and move on?
I have not reached the last episode, and I'm not sure. I'm actually getting a little choked up as I say this. I'm not sure one of the couples makes it whole
Okay.
by the end of the series, and that's actually intense. I kind of want to know how they turn out.
Okay. Couples therapy's on Amazon.
You can buy it
And
on Amazon.
Showtime.
I think it's a Showtime show.
Okay.
But the other show I finished this week was The Boys.
Oh, it's about the kids. They're out having a good time. It's like a wholesome family.
Yeah, it's summer baseball camp, right?
born, and then they
If
check in every few years.
if someone's hearing thing that they were listening to this podcast on Brooke right now, they go download that and be upset.
So it's based on a notoriously violent graphic novel or comic book series. I'm not sure which.
comic series.
I remember reading it maybe 15 or 20 years ago. It seems like a long time ago. But I haven't watched the show yet.
So the premise is, a la The Watchmen, that the superheroes can be real shitbirds.
Or real people.
Real people
Yeah.
with real flaws.
But real powers.
And when people with superpowers have flaws, it gets hectic.
I can imagine it's bad.
It stars Tested's favorite character, actor, acting genius, Karl Urban.
Oh, the best. He's the best.
Dude,
Did you see him at Silicon Valley?
No.
He was there apparently.
No, he wasn't.
No, wasn't he?
I don't think so. We
doesn't
would
show
have
up?
known. We
So
would
your
have.
argument
Your
is
Urban
that
alert?
couldn't have gotten past
That
you?
would have
Yeah.
gotten past
Okay.
us as an organization.
Okay.
Karl Urban is great, and he's a kind of he's a Comic-Con pal. We see each other at the parties at Comic-Con every
Yeah.
year and share stories about our kids. We have kids about the same age. He's a lovely human being. I actually interviewed him on stage as part of Star Trek, a Star Trek event.
Oh, okay.
He
Trek Beyond, yeah.
talked extensively about what it's like to play a character like Bones.
Yeah.
And bring in the history at the same time as finding your own solution to the character.
That was the thing. Like the scene in the first
Unbelievable.
Star Trek when he gets in the shuttle, when Kirk gets in the shuttle with him, I was like, oh wow, he's doing something really good here.
Yeah.
This is some real good acting.
In the same way that Chris Pine took Kirk and
Yeah.
also made it
And
his
Zachary
own.
Quinto, too. I mean, they all did it.
All three of them. I got to interview all three of them on stage. By the way, all three of them, giants. They're
Yeah.
all like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", as we were backstage. And, they didn't quite notice me because I think I look like a troll to them. But as I walked
You're from
up
the
to
internet.
them,
Don't mind you.
I
You're from the
said-
internet.
I said, wow, I thought y'all were supposed to be real short. And Chris Pine was like, ha ha.
Oh my god.
But anyway, the boy, have you seen
I've
it?
seen all of it. Yep.
Okay, you haven't seen it.
haven't seen anything.
But you read the graphic novel. You mind if
I
I spoil it for you?
go nuts.
Okay.
So
Okay, hold on. We should set it up first.
We won't spoil yet.
Yes.
We'll have some conversing
Yeah.
about it in general.
Why
neutral
should I watch
terms.
The Boys, Adam and Norm? Yeah.
So the premise is there is a superhero team. It's all set in America, New York, and so there's a superhero team that's very much like the Justice League. So you have your stalwarts, your Superman figure, your Batman figure, your Aquaman figure.
And
Wonder
you also
Woman
have a
type-
building they live in, which
Yes.
is like Stark Tower. It's in
Exactly.
the middle of New York.
But the premise is the Boys. The name of the show is a reference to a covert team, in this case run by Billy Butcher, played by Karl Urban, that in the comic book was commissioned by the CIA to take the superheroes down a notch, to put them in their place because they've been running reckless. And in the TV show, it's adapted where they have more of a vendetta with the superhero team. So they are working underground to try to break the system and show the world that these superheroes aren't as perfect, because they're not.
It's like Lex Luthor's ultimate plan in every Superman ever, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're absolutely right about that.
Except in this case, it's true.
So on this before we get into spoilers, I want to plug Brightburn because I watched it a couple weeks ago.
Is it great?
Oh, no, it's not great, but it's interesting. It's really, really gory and horrific in places.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of body horror.
Okay.
If it weren't for the body horror, I would be super into it.
There's some body horror in
Yeah.
The Boys
It's-
that shocked me.
Yeah, there's a thing with eyeball and glass in Brightburn that's just discomforting. I still kind of
So it's not
shiver.
torture porn the
No.
way this sounds like Brightburn has some torture porn-ish elements.
Brightburn, there's definitely sadism and it, like cruelty against animals,
There's
and the animals are
cruelty.
people.
There's cruelty in The Boys. There's gore in The Boys. A lot of it is for shock value, but a lot of it is to show how realistic it would be if you have someone with the powers of a Superman,
Right.
kind of run a little reckless.
It
Well, I
does
mean, that's
not
what-
hold back. Du Bois does not hold back, and there's nudity, there's sex, there's violence, there's some really messed up body horror for alternate types of bodies.
Yeah.
Like,
Nice.
yeah. But ultimately, look, right now in television, we're in this state where if you watch 12 hours of a show, in my experience, oftentimes like 3 of those hours feel almost disposable.
Yeah, it's what was so refreshing about Fleabag.
Yes.
It's like there was no extra flesh on those
What do they
bones.
call those? Bottle episodes. Not a bottle episode in the bunch.
I like good
I don't
bottle
mind
episodes can really set the tone for the whole
bottle
season.
episode. But I got to the end of the first season of Westworld, and I was like, I just watched 10 hours, and I feel like I watched 4 and
Yeah.
a
Oh, you
half
watched more than 10 hours. You watched 25 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
But one season? No, that's
Oh,
two
the
seasons.
first season might have been short, but every season after that was 20 something.
Really?
episodes,
No,
yeah.
Westworld.
Oh,
West
Westworld. I
Wing.
thought,
not West Wing.
sorry, I thought you were talking about. I heard West Wing, and you said Westworld.
At any rate,
Yeah, 10 hours.
The Boys crackles along. There's not a dull moment, and the way in which The Boys kind of reveals layers of its reality to you is also wonderful. For instance, there's one of the supers. They call them soups. One of the supers. You wonder for the first few episodes if he is bad, and then when you start to learn what his true character is like, that still takes several episodes to sink into you, the depth of his character.
That's really when you see character development that comes across at that kind of pace. It's really fun.
Every character has depth. Every superhero character that's portrayed in the show has layers of depth to be peeled back. All of the team of the boys, new members that join them, have complexities in the relationships between each other and also backstory that's revealed.
And lots of really, I can imagine that it is a really fun show to be an actor in. The actors are given some really complex, messed up, intense, wonderful things to do. And among the actors are Dennis Quaid's son.
Yeah, it's Jack Quaid.
Jack
plays
Quaid.
Huey, yeah.
There's a point at which he's about to date this girl, a superhero called Starlight. What is the name of the actress?
It is Erin Moriarty.
She's fantastic in this show. And it is said in the show, somebody turns to him and goes, she's totally out of your league. And it's like, it's Dennis Quaid's son. No, she's not out of his league. They're both in the same league. They're both beautiful.
Oh, boy.
Elisabeth Shue plays a key role in this show. And I haven't seen her since she played herself in Hamlet 2.
With Steve Coogan.
With Steve Coogan, remember?
I forgot about
So,
that.
are you Elizabeth Shue? Oh, yeah, I'm just a nurse now. I retired
Really?
from acting.
You see, I know. I loved the idea she retired from acting and played herself. She plays a role that would be easy to cast Sigourney Weaver into.
Okay, yes.
Right?
Yes.
A kind of a femme fatale, dark, smart operator, working on a bunch of different fronts at once.
Yeah.
Look, the main thing that shines through this show is the intelligence of most of the characters. Funnily enough, the Supes are not among those. The Supes don't show up as the smartest
I
characters.
assume they
in
fall
the show.
into the John Hamm rule from 30 Rock, where like the more beautiful you are, the dumber you get.
You're in the bubble, Lemon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that some of them reveal some surprising intellect or machinations that they are running by the end.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Huh.
But for the most so I think that's covered the kind
Yes,
of
the spoiler-free,
unspoilery discussion of it.
Okay.
It's worth watching. Again, there will be some significant violence, some body horror, some graphic sex stuff.
What they used to call
violence,
strong
too,
sexual content back in the day.
Yeah, strong sexual content and yeah, but
yeah, when you watch HBO and like Game of Thrones and before it shows it
doesn't
shows
feel
rated
gratuitous,
TVMA.
it just feels
Well, it says TVMA because there's violence, language, nudity,
Dragons.
All of the above.
We call it a fiver.
The
Yeah.
fiver. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
a fiver.
really?
This is every episode. It's like a fiver.
Okay, so let's talk about the show. Spoilers now. So if you haven't watched The Boys, you might want to turn it off now and watch some of it.
Do you think spoilers matter? Like, there's some stuff that like
No,
I
don't
feel
think-
like spoilers would have maybe affected my viewing of Fleabag.
Yeah, I've been very careful about Fleabag. However, I felt spoilers made me watch The Good Place, and I don't mind spoiling.
That's
it for people.
absolutely
I asked
true.
their
yeah.
permission, and
Fourth
I tell
season's
them.
coming soon, by the way.
I
know, I
think as
can't
long as
wait.
we don't talk about the very last episode of The Boys, that we're fine.
Sure. There's so much development of different characters on different fronts within the. Is it 8 episodes? It is 8.
Yeah.
That there's a lot to cover, and I don't think talking about it actually ruins the experience of watching it because it's so well put together. It's well shot.
We can start with the characters. We can start
Yeah.
with Homelander, the Superman figure in the show.
The most powerful of the Supes and the
Yes.
leader of the 7. That's what they call the Justice
Bulletproof,
League.
tall buildings,
Laser
fast
beams,
speed
laser beams
fly.
from his eyes.
Yeah, cold breath.
Played by
Cape.
New Zealander Anthony Starr. Cape. He has his costume is basically the American flag. His name's Homelander. Come on,
Homelander.
Tasteful.
He's got
Right.
Judge Dredd shoulders.
yeah,
bald.
costume
Of
is
course.
really good.
He's terrifying.
He's a psychopath.
He's
Okay.
completely, not only is he a psychopath, but I mean, he's raised to be a psychopath.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is a guy who you don't quite realize I guess by episode 3 or 4, when you see the airplane, that first,
Yes. Yeah, the airplane scene. Yeah.
you get, he's bad. Right. You get that because you see him literally take a plane out of the sky.
Well, they try to save the people on the plane, but then
Oh, no, not that plane. The earlier plane.
Yes.
The
gosh.
the-
The congressperson.
The congressperson who wants to
Yes.
reveal the secret of Compound V.
Yeah. He basically laser beams a plane out of the sky.
But
Wow.
the people in the plane look out the window and they see Homelander and they're like, Homelander's out the side of the plane.
We're safe.
I wonder if everything's okay. And then he slices through their engine and they go down. with his eyes, with his laser eye beams,
Right.
and you're just like, what?
This is the premise of Brightburn.
Oh,
It's
is it really?
What if baby Kal-El lands in Kansas and he turns out to be a real shitbag?
That show.
It's a movie,
yeah.
but yeah.
So yeah, Homelander is terrifying, and Homelander's relationship with his handler, whose
Elizabeth
name is
Shue.
Elizabeth Stillwell, and that's who is played by Elizabeth
Is she
Shue.
a human? Normal human?
She's a normal human.
Okay.
Who is kind of the one in charge. So the Soups, the seven, they all work for this giant corporation called VOGHT. VOGHT.
Okay.
And VOGHT is effectively like, some giant conglomerate.
Yeah.
Right? Multinational gazillion dollar thing. And they all work for VOGHT. So they're doing the first, you get your window into the company through the eyes of this young startup soup called Starlight, this young woman who had
audition to
audition
join
to be in the seven.
team.
Yeah.
It's an audition. It's casting. They hire her to replace a member who had left.
And she's in prepping for the audition. She not only goes through audition processes and tapes and stuff, but she also like patrols her town and
Does she already have
stops
powers at
crimes.
this point?
She
they're
already
born
has
with
powers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like they're signing up
certain
to get
number of people
injected with some business.
No,
Okay.
a certain number of people seem to be just born with powers.
Okay.
Seem to be.
And
Yeah.
they develop
Okay.
those powers, and sometimes they get to matriculate up to the big leagues.
Got it. So it's a literal like AAA going up to the big leagues baseball
Indeed.
situation.
And there's
Here-
actually a later in the season unbelievable cameo, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that like blew my mind and made me laugh out loud at the screen.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is corporatized, and that's the conceit, right? These superheroes and the whole business of superheroes, which may be a commentary on maybe Marvel Disney and the business of superheroes that we're in these days. That is one of the big plot points.
Well, and so what you see in her is as the scales fall from her eyes, she shows up. I'm one of the seven. This is the fulfillment of my life's dreams. And the first thing that happens is the Aquaman guy, the Deep, forces her to have sex with him.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like the very first thing that happens in the first episode. It's like in the middle of the first episode
really
that happens.
strong parallels to Watchmen here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Strong parallels to Watchmen. The difference between this and Watchmen is that Watchmen is about what happens within the Watchmen, and this show is about what happens outside
Between
of
the Watchmen and the world.
Collateral
Yeah, exactly.
damage, which is the motivating factor for Huey, played by Dennis Quaid's son, Jack Tate.
So Dennis Quaid's son Jack plays a character who, in the beginning of the first episode, you meet him and Robin. Is
Yeah,
that
his
the name of his
girlfriend,
girlfriend. You meet him and his girlfriend, and this is one of those examples of terrific writing where they're funny together. You find them funny. You see the love they have for each other. You get why they're together, and you like them. And he's standing on the street corner, holding her hands when the equivalent of the Flash runs by and through her.
And she pulverizes.
She vaporizes, and he's left holding her hands.
Oh my god.
That's
Yeah.
the show.
That's the opening.
I'd be pretty pissed off at the Justice League.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that's so why the Flash was running becomes a plot point later on in the episode. At one point, they want to know what somebody's thinking, so they go to find this other soup who's called Mesmer. Mesmer?
Yes.
Yeah, Mesmer. And Mesmer, if he touches you, can read your mind.
Okay.
Mesmer turned out to have been a kid on a cop show called Mesmer?
I forget.
Or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
He was a
yeah.
kid in a cop show. It was like Doogie Howser, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
effectively
He was a
like
detective.
that.
Cop.
Yes.
And so here he was. First time you see him, it's the kid in the show, but now you're going to go meet the adult. And the adult is played by
Haley Joel Osment. And he's really good.
And Haley Joel Osment, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Joel
He's
Osment is
still a
very good.
great actor, and it's just a perfect. I mean, it's one of those Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark level
Yeah, yeah,
cameos
yeah.
of reality and fiction
He's
meeting
at
on
one
this
of those
perfect plane.
conventions signing autographs with Billy Zane.
Right, Billy
my
Zane
God,
playing
that's so
himself,
good.
and there's a couple of other actors also in there,
Like old superhero actors.
Yeah.
Billy Zane.
Oh man.
Billy Zane chews a lot of the scenery in those con
The
shots.
performances, specifically the Homelander performance, is amazing.
Who plays Homelander?
Anthony Starr, New Zealand,
Okay.
yeah. actor. Starlight is incredible.
Starlight
the
is
level
great.
of depth that she has, and the arc that she goes through. Everyone is super insecure.
She's super intelligent. That's the thing that's really lovely is she's really, really smart. And she's trying to navigate as a young person who wanted this dream, just how little the dream matches the reality and what's she going to do about it.
Interesting.
Late in the season, she learns in a kind of a really important and vital way that her romantic interest, which is Dennis Quaid's son, has not been truthful to her at this very important and deep level. And there's this aspect of her that still, like, she calls him up and says, I need you to tell me why all this has gone the way that it has. And it's a level of, like in a normal screenplay, the simplistic version is, you betrayed me, I'm not going to talk to you. But these are two really smart people who are also really emotionally conversant and present. And when she finds out that he hasn't been truthful to her, instead of simply feeling betrayal, she also wants answers and reaches out to him. And it's this kind of a great wrinkle on a standard relationship trope that I thought was really neat. Like she still knows that she trusts him in a key and abiding way and wants to find out more about what's been going on.
I don't remember any of this from the comic book.
A lot of it's in the comic. Starlight's in the comic.
Right, I remember
her
the
journey.
characters, yeah.
Huey in the comic looks more like Simon Pegg, who's also in the show.
Simon
plays Huey's
Pegg
dad.
plays a dad.
Yeah.
You know, that felt like a key moment for me. It's like when Tate Donovan first played a dad, I was like, wow, I'm old. And now Simon Pegg is playing a dad.
Oh man, yeah.
Having just watched him in Band of Brothers.
Oh my God.
At
the
like,
youngest.
Oh, he must have been 16 or
oh
something.
yeah, I mean, it's just a baby.
Yeah. Wow. You should watch it, Will.
I'll
We can
watch
go
it.
way more than I know. A lot of you out there have probably watched it. We'd love to know about your favorite scenes. But yeah, really worth watching, easily bingeable, and we can come back and do like a second follow-up.
I would love to
podcast
watch it and see what I'm excited. I remember like it's one of those things. I didn't get into comic books until mid 2000s, and the people that we worked with, Norm and I were working with the same place at the time. The people that we worked with, I had some great friends that were like, hey, here are 15 things you should read, and it was like Watchmen and Dark Knight and Transmat, and I don't think Planetary was out then. Maybe. The Daredevil Born Again, some of the Frank Miller stuff.
Have you seen
Sandman?
By the way, have you seen Absolute Dark Knight, the giant version?
No.
Yeah, I have that.
So they've released a compendium of Dark Knight in a larger format, like 40%
I have the
larger.
Sandman absolutes
It's a
that
whole
are
series.
repainted. Yeah.
Just because those are what the art is actually drawn at before
Yeah.
they scale it down.
It is so beautiful to read Dark Knight in a larger format.
Yeah.
It is really, really thrilling. It's one of those things of like, I wonder how this is going to be. And I got it, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Well, it's actually. I mean, the thing is, you see the actual paint rather than the
print.
The print. Yeah.
And Dark Knight, which is Lynn Varley, is the
The
colorist,
colorist,
right?
yes,
Such
yes.
an important colorist to Miller's drawing. And layout. Really, that's the other thing is, that layout.
Oh,
That-
'cause
The
it's so
layout's-
dense.
Yeah,
the
and
layout.
and it tells the story with the layout. Like, yeah, it's incredible.
It's too bad he's nuts.
Well, the good ones always are. That's not true. We shouldn't
It's the
encourage that
only
behavior.
art form that goes along at your pace, where the page turn is the pause.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly it.
I was really sad when The Boys ended at the end
Okay.
of episode 8. I can't wait for more. Do we know if it's been
They're
renewed?
filming it right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Can we get on that set? Hey, The Boys producers, Tested would love to come and embed on your set and cover
Adam
the
wants
amazing
to be a
storytelling
superhero
happening with all
called
the
The
artisans
Maker.
on that show. Karl Urban will vouch for me. Yes.
He's good.
Yeah, he's
they're
a good dude.
clean. They're lightweight.
Produced by Amazon. You can
it's on
reach
Amazon?
out directly. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Prime.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that'll do it for us, I guess.
I think so.
That'll do for us. We'll going to do an episode in the future recapping the announcement we just did this past week about our VR app.
Dude.
If you have an Oculus Quest or Go, you can download it right now. It's called Adam Savage's Tested VR. It's free, and you can watch amazing 360 or 3D 180-degree videos of makers that we traveled to their spaces and document their projects. But we're going to do a big podcast in the future talking about the making of it.
Yeah, just to briefly sell it. This came about from an experiment that Norm and I did here at Tested about a year ago, and we were blown away. Both of us being aficionados of watching people build stuff, we were blown away by the intimacy that 3D VR brought to watching a maker go through their paces. And this video series it exceeds all of our expectations. We're so happy and proud of it.
You guys made Joey shot the best 3D video I've ever seen.
Not only that, I said this last night at the event, and this is also just worth saying as a sign off. Like in film school, you study Sergei Eisenstein's Potemkin Steps sequence. And if you don't know about it, go ahead and Google it because you can get a walkthrough of it. Because it was one of the very first times anyone had tried a jump cut to explain action. This is the beginning of film language. We didn't know that you could do this and your brain would plug in the in-between part. They just didn't, they were inventing it as they went. And Joey, and along with Eric Chang, did a tremendous amount of brand new narrative storytelling in a new medium in order to figure, like, how do you do close-ups in VR?
I mean,
They basically tried a bunch of different methods and came up with a method that works and like invented it.
when you can't move the camera and can't control what the person's looking at, the way you tell stories is dramatic. It changes dramatically.
And for VR to fulfill its potential, it requires these different teams of folks working in it to play around with these. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir to anyone who's developing in VR, but for those watching at home, that might not be clear to you just how radically new all this stuff still can be.
I'm generally not a fan of 360 or VR video, and you guys did a spectacular job. It's really good.
Very proud of it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, please check it out. Let us know what you think, and we'll be back next week.
All right. Can I just push one of these things?
You can press the big oh, you want to push one of these?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
What do they do? What does pop culture do?
It turns on the pop culture lights. Don't do that.
Are they hearing this?
Yes.
All right. I pushed the pop culture. But everyone wants to know what pop culture sounds like. That's it.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.